Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering creativity. I'm Aaron Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Gillian Fox, who serves as president and CEO of Caramoor. Gillian, welcome to the show.
Hi, Aaron. Delighted to be here.
So I am so excited to talk with you. Caramoor is obviously such an extraordinary, wonderful, and very special place, and one of our wonderful creative partners. And so I thought there's a number of things I wanted to talk to, but I thought we'd just start out if you could share with the audience kind of just about Caramoor, what's it like there, what's the experience, and what's kind of, if you will, the experiences that people will have there.
Sure. So Caramoor is a cultural destination. It is really not just one thing, but I think what we are first and foremost is an 81-acre estate, woodland gardens and grounds with a historic home known for presenting exceptional music for the past 81 years. Most people think of us around classical music, and that's partially because we got started presenting incredible bel canto operas for many, many years. And it really put us on the map curatorially. And today we continue that tradition of presenting music across genres at the top of their craft, whether that is rising stars who we see as the next generation of greats, or folks performing at the top of their license. And so we're really excited to welcome people to hear music in a setting that is truly, truly one of a kind. Kind of diving into that, we are a Mediterranean style estate founded by the Lucy Walter Rosen in the late 20s. And so that home, it operates now as a museum. And we have both signature and focus tours throughout the year, an incredible team of docents. And the rooms are architecturally significant and filled with significant art from the Renaissance period and various objects of various uh, antiquity importance. And so that's kind of one of our identities. And that home houses two of our venues, the music room, which is a 192 seat listening space, acoustically designed for music. And then the Spanish courtyard, which is an outdoor space, 350 seats. My personal favorite. It is, I think, one of the most iconic spaces to hear music on our property. And we have three outdoor venues. Most well known is the Venetian Theater, which has Italian marble Venetian columns, kind of shepherding the space, but tented, and our newest space being Friends Field, a really casual, family-friendly space that people can picnic and dance in their own environment. So kind of something for every different concert experience, but each of those being wholly unique and a way to say, come hear something at Caramoor that maybe you wouldn't hear elsewhere.
It is, and I'm so glad you're able to share that. And hopefully, anyone in our audience who has not been there will of course come because it really is a truly a very very special place and a special place to experience all kinds of art.
That's right.
And kind of talking about that, I want to eventually get to kind of how do we even resource all the work that we do and all of that. But before that, kind of as you are looking, right, and there's so many in our audience who have to lead in various capacities, whether it's an entire organization, a presenter, or an orchestra, or opera theater, whatever it might be, or academic setting, and or they're leading a particular program. Kind of curious as you look at that and from an administrative capacity, is there a creative vision or administrative vision that you have for Caramoor, kind of as you look out 3 to 5 years that you kind of want to imbue amongst within your team?
Yeah. I think For me, it's kind of come down to two main focuses in terms of the future for Caramoor. One is expanding access to this truly one of a kind cultural destination. And we've done that both through expanding access to the grounds. Caramoor is now open for free daily from 10 to 4. And I think that has just welcomed people into what a sanctuary of a space Caramoor is, but then also expanding access through a major focus on additional programs. So, in addition to our 60 concerts that we present a year, about 60% classical plus jazz and American roots. We also have really stepped into learning opportunities, health and wellness, and various classes and public programs that activate all the various aspects of Caramoor. And we've seen a pretty big uptick in the first time patrons and folks who say, wow, I never knew this was here. And we have found that you just got to get someone to Caramoor once before they could become hooked. The second is reintroducing Caramoor to the community as a place that is already great for families. Personally, I have a 3-year-old daughter, and when I stepped into this role and brought her here for the first time, I got to see Caramoor through her eyes. And since then, over the past 10 months, we have welcomed hundreds and hundreds of first-time children and seen the way that they connect with music that is presented at a high level and in an authentic way, and being out in nature and saying, this is all for you to explore and access. I think when we put fewer obstacles in the way for people to interact with the cultural arts, they are way more likely to engage in a meaningful, recurring, habitual way. And that's what we're trying to build here at Caramoor is don't come for a specific concert. Include Caramoor as a part of your family's regular routine, that this is the place that you come to spend time together, connect with your community, connect with culture, learn. And at the end of the day, these are the things that make us human. And Caramoor is a perfect place to be a home for people for that.
Absolutely love that. Love that. And can imagine also just very inspiring for the team and everyone who's involved in making Caramore what it is. And again, just such a special place. And so on a little more pragmatic level, right? So
Yeah.
of course, that's just incredible. And being able to kind of have that moment to experience and see Caramore through the eyes of a child the is what it takes to make things run on a day-to-day basis, and of
Yeah.
course, resources and money. And so I know so many in our audience are thinking about this, and while it's always a constant issue, it seems that this time and place that we're in, people in the arts are there is some more acute concerns and or issues and or attention being paid. And curious kind of how you look at it, and especially there are many who reflect or represent institutions that may have been around for generations, and where people look and say, so the people who have funded us in the past versus the people new, how do we find new people? What happens when the people who have been funding either change their minds or unfortunately, transition or pass on? And what do we do and how do we identify? And so curious, do you have thoughts and or strategies in that space?
Yeah. This is a really hard space and we're all struggling. And yet, I think for Caramoor, the most authentic way to solve this challenge is to join people along their life cycle where they're at, meet them where they are in their life, and be relevant to them at that time for what that means. And so for us, that means we just brought back Dancing at Dusk, which is our children's concert series. And we're really focusing on connecting with young parents in the community who may want to connect with Caramoor through their children. That a date night opportunity may not actually be the top of their priority list right now because when they're not at work, they want to be with their kids. So finding opportunities to engage with their kids is meaningful. And so to say, how do we become that habitual part of your family's together in this time now, but that 20 years from now, our relationship with you may look very different. And to not put somebody in a box, but say, we're going to evolve with you throughout your lifetime. it also means not throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying that the people who've supported us all along this journey are still incredibly relevant to who we are and continuing to make sure that we are serving them in a really meaningful way. And I think Caramoor is uniquely positioned to be able to do that because we have so many pathways for people to engage at Caramoor. So you can do that through, coming to hear Orchestra of St. Luke's in the Venetian Theater in a way that maybe really resonates and reminds some of our patrons of the way Caramoor was in the 90s. But that we can also have this very casual, family friendly environment on Friends Field that has food trucks and arts activities for their kids that might resonate more with somebody, in their 40s. And then the other aspect for that for us and the way we continue to show our relevance to the community and our impact is through our mentorship programs. Caramoor has 3 significant mentorship programs centering around early career musicians, one for instrumentalists, one's for vocalists, and then one specifically for string quartets. And by continuing to invest in those programs and to graduate incredible alumni who've gone on to huge careers, is a way that we continue to invest in the future of the art forms that we present here and show the impact of philanthropy here at Caramoor.
It just is extraordinary work. And unfortunately, we are just about out of time, but I always like to ask of all my guests, this, right, being able to lead in such a unique place and space as Caramoor, you see and feel the passion, and joy from your leadership in that way. But there also has to be some tough days, or times where whatever is logistically not happening right, or it could be a fundraising thing or whatever. And just wondering, as a leader, do you have anything to share for our audience of either mechanisms or things that you would do when times are the toughest to help you get through those really challenging times as a leader?
Yeah, for me, it comes down to 2 things. One is taking a step back and reestablishing perspective. I think when you're in the thick of it, individual scenarios can feel really weighty, but it's so important to take a step back and look at how that scenario is playing out in the bigger picture. And that reestablishing perspective could be as simple as I have the benefit, you can't really see, but I have the most incredible view of Caramoor outside my window. And sometimes just taking a deep breath and looking at the impact of everything that we're doing can remind that this one situation is tackleable and that we can kind of, do it. We can move forward and that the trains aren't going to stop. The second is to seek input from trusted advisors. That can look like your board, making sure that your board of trustees feels really engaged and is a true partner to you, makes the work not feel so lonely and makes you remember that you have a team of supporters who we can all take from these various experiences and resources and connections to solve this challenge. But that may be your team members, or it may be another CEO at a partner organization who's facing similar challenges, and you can share that burden. So I think between kind of surrounding yourself and connecting yourself with your community, and being able to take a step back and remember what is the goal, what is the mission we're all working towards, it feels a little less heavy.
Gillian Fox, you truly are one of the arts engines who is powering human creativity in our world. Thank you so much for everything you are doing for Caramoor, for the arts, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Aaron. It's been a pleasure.